Good afternoon. Welcome to this thing of ours with Donald Yates. How you doing, brothers and sisters? I want to talk to you today about bus consolidation, the rumors, maintenance. They went out and did a deconsolidation pick. A lot of their reasoning behind what they did and in the maintenance division has everything to do with the picks not and the jobs not matching up. Outside of that, I'm a transportation division chairman. I don't really know too much of the issues over there. One of the things I can assure you is that the bus operators will not be deconsolidating. Consolidation is here to stay in the Department of Buses, and it's very imperative that you turn your nose up at the people who spread the rumors. Now there is a court case that was pending, and it started in 20. It was initiated in 2010, but for the purposes of research, you can research the court case called Justia, and it's called Samuelson versus New York City Transit Authority, 2013. Now, the reason why I want you to focus and do your research, because people put this stuff out here for you to see, but they don't. I believe that there's really not an expectation for you to really read what's there. And if you read what's there, and I hope you do read what's there and then comment on this post that I'm going to put up on YouTube, because there's additional information that really led to the court decision, and it was a strategy that was in place when the lawsuit was filed, right? So the union did have a strategy in place, and if you really read in between the lines, you can see where the union strategy took form. And I'll give you a little bit of a hint where it appeared that the union was seeking civil service status of MaBstoa employees by default. Now, when you read the decision, you're going to see that language all in the decision, and why the courts at the time felt that the transit authority didn't violate the consolidated agreement. That's and that prong was in the first step in the court process. The Court of Appeals felt a little bit differently and did send it back to the first court for a decision, which is why the transit authority got scared, because it was going to be a big financial impact against the transit authority. All right, and moving on, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Tier 6, the Tier 6 reform. And the reason why I want to bring it up is because since I've been on this job since 1994, Tier 4 has been going through changes in its own realm. And even before that, you had other tiers, and it's basically a legislative issue. Now there are those out there that feel like, oh, you can march at the governor's door and it'll change. That's not how legislatives get done. It's a process that's involved. It is a fight that's involved. But right now, when it comes to Tier 6 is not only in the MTA, and I think that's the message that's being put out there, not purposely, but it is out there that Tier 6 is in New York City Transit and New York City Transit only, but that's not the case. Tier 6 is a statewide law that affects unions across the state of New York. So, for the whole purposes of this conversation, we would like to see reform of Tier 6, but we have to all be on page and get involved in that fight. All right, and you may be called upon to get involved in that fight. So, be ready for that, and just know that together we make a difference, and that's why we have to be together when we fight these things. I mean, we understand that the topics exist, and then people will put things out there because it's conversation. So people could take any conversation and use it to their own self-interest to make themselves look good or to make someone else look like they're not doing something. But let me tell you something. We are doing something, and I encourage all to get involved in this fight. The next topic on my agenda is I'm going to talk about snow alert, a snow alert grievance that I have filed. Now, it originated. This grievance originated when the operating authority in Manhattan and the Bronx has sent operators from their home addresses to report to a foreign depot in order to pull out buses so they don't have to pull out artics out of the Tuskegee Airmen Depot. But this thing goes a little bit further than that. Now, I want to say a week or two before the general pick came to a close, I was asked if I would allow operators from the 3 other depots in the Manhattan Division to come to Tuskegee Airmen Depot and do overtime, because they forecasted that there would be 30 open jobs even at the close of the pick. Of course, I said no to that. I felt that it would open up a door or a Pandora's box that I wouldn't be able to close if I allowed that. So I said no. What I did do after the snow things started going on with the snow, is I filed a grievance, and the grievance was reflective of what I believe that they're really trying to do in the backdoor way, is to get people to report to different locations, to pull work out of those locations when there's open work available. That's to me a way of putting regional bus in one division, and then if it happens in one division, they'll make that happen in other divisions. Now, that's something that I couldn't allow, so I filed a grievance, and the grievance, number one, asks for pay in the realm of about 2 hours and 40 minutes for the day, for when they asked those people to report to foreign depots. They only paid an hour and a half. I believe they was due 2 hours and 40 minutes. On top of that, I'd put in for a cease and desist order. This grievance has so many aspects to it that I believe that the New York City Transit Authority is going to be really scared of this grievance, because to get a decision on this grievance is of any kind, even a losing decision, is going to be a decision that's going to put parameters on the Transit Authority, and I don't think that they really want that. All right, that's the snow grievance. I want to talk about sick time. When you run out of sick time, you are entitled to 60% if you have a minimum of 4 years on the job. So here's how it goes. If you run out of sick time, you have 4 years on the job, you utilize 60%, which is all contractual. The more time you have on the job, the more amount of days you'll get paid based on that 60%. After you get paid the 60%, you get short-term disability. Right? Now, if you have less than those 4 years on the job, you run out of sick time, you can go and get short-term disability after you run out of sick time. It's about $170 a week. It's really not much money, but it's something. All right. For my Manhattanville folks, on the second floor and the third floor, we're asking that you do not idle your buses, because the air handlers in the depot are down. The air handlers are down and not functioning in a way where it brings the smog and the smoke outside of the depot. All right. So for those reasons, and for the humane reason, we want to minimize the smog and foreign air that goes inside that depot. So please join me and others by supporting our maintenance brothers and not idle those buses in the depot. All right. M4, the M4 route in Manhattan. In the last operations planning meeting we had, it was said that they was going to shorten the M4 to 53rd Street, and it was because they they that the city of New York is talking about closing down 32nd Street and making it a pedestrian mall of some sort. We have a fight back going on. We've already started the process with our political action group, who is reaching out to the politicians. We're going to be campaigning on that, and going to the community boards and informing the people that this is basically transportation racism. And further, and just to be straightforward with you guys, shortening of any line at any point, on a permanent basis is a reduction in the operator's pay. Okay. And I just want to make that clear. Our narrative moving forward is to bring unity. Now, obviously, with social media out here, it's kind of tough to have a unified narrative, and it's because people, people always want to get into power, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's the democratic way. We see how the Republicans and the Democrats act towards each other, but at the end, when there's a crisis, the country comes together. It's the same thing in this union. There's a lot of people who talk and say, well, if Janice was to hit, and it will, that this union won't pay their union dues and cripple and collapse the unions. I don't believe that. I believe that people understand that unions and the idea of unions is what protects and brings people to the middle class, and without a union and to allow the union to collapse, you would then see a lot of discipline in this company, more so than what's here now. The Transit Authority would get away with murder, and we know that our membership doesn't want that to happen. All right, so our narrative is togetherness, and together we make a difference in all things. I say it all the time. CompDifferential. For those of you who go out there and get injured, differential is based on comp and the difference of your comp salary and differential, comp and differential. So let's just say that you was getting 100% of comp, which is about $861 and change, and we had to figure out what your differential would be up to 40 hours if it's a regular IOD. If it's a assault, then it has to be whatever your run pays. So we figure that differential amount by basically adding up what your run is, either at 40 hours or at run pay. We do the appropriate taxes and then we figure it out from that. And then we do it again with differential, because the differential is the actual part of the check that gets taxed, and also your deductions and whatever deductions that come out of your normal check will come out of your differential check. And normally your differential check may be $100 to $200 less than what you would normally see, because of the deductions and the taxation that goes on the differential check. And the last thing I want to say in closing is the mentorship program in the Department of Buses. That program is designed to have mentors mentor other bus operators coming on the job, and to make them successful, because in this day and age, it's very hard to pass probation. And the other part of the mentorship program is to build unity amongst the rank and file, and to bring the union presence onto the bus operator. And that's what the whole thing with the mentorship program is. And in closing, and that's what it is. And I'd like to say, have a good one, everybody, and remember, together we make a difference in all things.